Welcome back to my channel. I'm Clevett, and in this final part of my StreTek screen video, I'm going to be making my curved screens. Now what these are a continuation of the wall, and then they come across and provide some privacy to this area behind me. It consists of a first curved screen which comes across here, and then behind it there's another screen that then blends into this wall and the hidden door, which is right here. Effectively, you don't really see that there's the shower room behind there. You just got these lovely sort of continuations of these screens.
So the side of the screen, or the rails, if you like, that form the shapes, they're going to just continue with the face of the 6mm StreTek that's actually bonded and fixed back to the wall. So all I need to do is make this fit into here. So we're going to take off this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, on the line of that architrave corner there, if you could imagine that coming round here with the radius, that's going to want to be back in to the wall by the thickness of that architrave, which is 15mm, and then it's going to come across.
Now I've just got to take out this tiny little bird's mouth.
We're looking good, but I need to take off a small amount here. So I'm going to go and take that off, and that'll just make everything sit perfectly then. Let's try that little beauty in. Okay, so that is nice.
So that's the first of the scribes done there.
This will come through here. So when I mark the rod out now, I just put the rod back onto the last slat, and I'll attach it to here and mark it all up on these plates. And then that will give me every position I need. It will also give me what I have to rip down. Now I'll do the other side, which is basically a splay cut. So we need to be doing something along the lines of this to start with. So I'm just going to break that out now and see exactly how that works.
And that one is easier than the other one, actually. There's hardly any messing around to do there. So that's it. So both of these are now in position. I'm going to laser now the center of the hip above me, which is the sort of the sight line.
That's about it there.
What did we do before lasers? Tell what we used. We used string and plumb bob. I'd be up there now at that ridge, and I'd be using a plumb bob, which is basically a bit of string with a big weight on it. So perfectly adequate. So that gives me the line
where these will end. I put my pencil there because it's a bit far away for you to see it. This is the fun bit now, because I'm going to set out for my ribs. So the ribs are 25mm StreTek, okay? And the slats are exactly the same, 50mm by 15mm StreTek. So I've made myself a section, and all this is going to be for is to mark out each individual slat and the actual middle section. So the idea is I'll mark the sole plate and I'll pile it all the way through. So I've got the sole plate and the head plate here together fixed, and I've also got the spacer, which is going to eventually go under the screens, which is 6mm, to give us this nice shadow gap that we've got everywhere. So I'm going to carefully pop a screw in the rod here to actually hold it back. Now I want to mark the slat position on here and just give this a little, because I know the slat's going to cover it, I can do it like this. Always mark the same side and some hatching so you don't confuse yourself. I mean, this is such a satisfying job as a carpenter, making something like this. I've just cut down all of the slats. They're all done. I've sanded every single one. I've just cut 72 of them up. I've made the ribs that go in the middle, and there is 28 of those, believe it or not. And it's just a lot of repetitious work. You just have to get into the sort of flow of it and just go with it. And this one is exactly the last one, and it finishes exactly on my centre line, which is beautiful. There we go. And then I have got myself only half of the section here, and it's going to act like a square. It's going to square me down and it's going to square me across. Might as well mark both sides of that. A little faint line so we don't sort of see it when it goes together. And again, just repeat the process all the way through. And then we've got our lovely marks for each individual member. So there we have it. You can see that we're splaying round now. Everything is in the right place. And for the last one, what I'm actually doing is making a U section. So instead of an I-beam, I'm just going to make a U. And the idea of that is it comes all the way down. You don't see the end grain of the sole plate. So where the last slat is here, what I actually want to do is square it across here. And I'm going to cut it here. It will come down and fix into the end of the sole plate so you don't see the sole plate. So as we come around here, this slat here has to be relieved to suit the architrave here. You can see that's the cutout of the architrave. So I've just got to put one on, mark it here, and that is going to be a rip. Okay, let me just mark the underside to show you. So it's going to be a rip. We're going to take off all of this, and that will be a really nice fixing as well. So when we get that in there, I'll be able to attach it through the architrave into the stud behind, and that will anchor the end of the screen.
Now I'm going to repeat the process on the back wall there, mark that one up and get them ready, pilot them up, then I'll split the plates apart, because at the moment they're screwed together, split the plates apart and simply screw in all of these until I've got like a rocking frame. And at that point I can pretty much stand it in. It's a new day and it's time to get these screens put together. Fortunately I've got Eddie here, so yesterday I was working on my own. That's why I had to just prepare all of the material, which seemed to take forever because there was all of these slats to make sure they were cut to length. These are the ribs that go, or the slats that go on the outside. These are the ones which form the spines of the screens, and here are those two sets of wall plates that I've got, which, to refresh your memory, will slot. This one will go somewhere here like that, and they diminish away from there. This one is on the other side, obviously, and that takes me from this straight wall here out to there. So it's a really simple job to put them together. What we're going to do is do an experiment, and we're going to put a rib, if you like, one of the central sections, and a slat to make a T to start with, and we've got ourselves set up on the bench to actually slot them in. So let's take, this is what we'll do. We've got a sheet of OSB. This is one of our central ribs. Now, as soon as you rip material down, it wants to move around a bit. So it's important that when we actually fix the top sections on, that we actually keep them nice and true. So we've got a section screwed here to the edge of the board. We'll slot in a rib into between our little blocks there, push it up to the end. That'll keep that straight. Then we'll take one of the slats. So they sit on the rib like this, but they come down to cover the plate effectively, the curved plates. So that'll be exactly where they go. And then we'll glue them and we'll pin them on. We'll do that for all of them, so we get them to go off. We've got everything here. The only differences we've got here are the end slats. Here, they actually go all the way to the floor. Okay, so the actual bit in the middle goes all the way to the floor, and we're flush. So the end of the actual wall plates is more like a C instead of an I-beam. So it's a C section. Let me just slide that out. So it's more like this. And that'll be the end of the wall plate there, instead of being an I-beam section with the slat on either side like that. Look at this, how beautiful it is. So this is the StreTek. It's a birch ply alternative. This is the 25. This is the 15. Look how many layers of plies it's got. And there is such minimal defects in this material. If we take a slide through, this is just one piece. You get the tiny littlest core void, which is very similar to what you'd have in birch ply, but it's virtually faultless. It's really good material. Right, and I've enjoyed using it. It's been a nice new material to try. I must say, I love trying new materials, especially plywoods and sheet materials. Come on then, Ed, let's do it. So I suppose we should make one up then.
Yep.
I'm just going to pull this up to my end, to my stop. That's right then. And then when I put this one on, I'll just make sure I'm against that and flush with that. And then I'll put a pin in, then we're away, yeah?
Okay.
So pop some glue on. Just hold it roughly in the middle of your end.
Yeah.
And I'll get mine pinned on my end. Like all these jobs, they take ages to start with. You think, oh, it's going to take me all afternoon. And then, you all right?
Yep.
Good. And then I'll put one your end. Happy?
Yep.
That's it. Get one in the middle.
Nice fixing into that 25. There's space, isn't there?
So if we just, when we pick it up, because it's green, we just want to make sure we don't, that's it.
Stack it upside
Stack
down.
it upside down. That's it. Make a few up, shall we?
Yeah.
That's it. I'll just go with the flat of that. Pick one of these up. Let's drop it on top. Tell me when.
That's happy there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good?
Yep.
That's it. And then ease him up. Flop him over. So that's it. So that's the setup now. Now this is the only thing. It's making sure, because you can't see when these run out. That's
Sometimes stops.
That's run out.
Sometimes doesn't.
That's literally the last one, look. 25mm, 23 gauge, headless pins. They're like hypodermic needles. They're that thin.
Tiny.
They have an arrow on them because they're parallel. They haven't got a head. Now that is quite satisfying, you know. So that was pretty swift, wasn't it?
Yep.
So now we've got the decision to make whether or not we back them up. So we take the next face side slat and we go on the top, okay? So we make the actual I-beam section.
Yeah.
I'm tempted because we only need to kind of, I mean, otherwise we've got to do it either on the bench. I think we should try this. I mean, then I suppose the worry is, and you
Slot
mentioned
them in.
this earlier, chuck me over those plates, because I've only done these by hand and with a spoke shave.
Yeah.
They're not done on CNC or anything like that. I suppose the worry is if they become thick,
Yeah.
and we can't slide in, but
It's the internal ones that I was worried about.
yeah, I'm pretty accurate. In which case, we'd have to probably just ease it with a bit of sandpaper or something like that. But I think we should probably try and make them up as a full I-beam section. If we lift that onto there, and we make them on there, and do the same thing. We put this on. You'd hold yours dead flush on the end, like this. Yeah. Flush. So you're the same as that. Should we try one? See how it goes?
Yeah.
All right then, pop that to one side. Let's tight bond it. And then, I don't know what's holding me back from just doing this. I don't know, in your mind, as you're making something, you're constantly thinking, is it the right way? Is it the best way? Should we put these on afterwards? Should we get it together? Will we see the lines? That's more important when we're putting it together. I think that we'll just have to look over the top. Okay, so back on the top. Same as before. Just get my...
Okay, and the length for me.
Good in the length?
Yeah.
I'll just get this on here. Yeah, you happy there?
Yes.
I'm going to push it nice and hard. Make sure it's really connected. I'll give yours a knock there. Nice and hard. It seems to be the business actually. And that's a full rib now, so might as well pop that right over the back. We'll just keep them in the same direction every time.
Yeah.
And we'll take that one out the back there and put that on next. Yeah, I think we should go for it, shouldn't we?
Okay.
This plywood, when I first heard about this StreTek, I was like, well, is it really going to be a good alternative for birch ply? And because there's quite a few, people claim that they're a birch ply alternative. I do think that this one is definitely a good birch ply alternative. Yeah, it's a lovely bit of glue, this. Ed flushes his end up. So he's using a section 18mm, which is the same as the bottom and top plates. Then he's holding it with the spacer
there, and it's just off flush, so we're hanging it just past the spacer. And then at my end, doing the same thing. My end, I'm holding it over exactly the same. Ed's got the other end held. And then one in the middle straight away, and then the middle of the middle. And that's about all we need, because the glue is gonna do the work. And that's it. So that's what we've got. There's a full I-beam rib. And then particularly because of an I-beam, if you look at the shape of an I-beam, they're particularly strong. We slide that back in there. There we go. And they're going together really quite nice and flat and straight. So when they're spread out, they'll be pretty good too. So we'll get them all finished, and then we'll put that first screen together. So we've made all of the I-beams. These are every single one that doesn't need ripping.
We need to build the end pieces now, which are here.
So yeah, so this is the end of the detail. So when you walk past the end of the screen, it's flush, as opposed to the I-beam section like this. So we'll make those up, and then we'll have some lunch, yeah?
Yeah, let it all go off and then we can construct it.
Yeah, which is going to be good. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's nice getting to this point now. We're nearly at the end of making all these slats up and
The home straight.
Yeah, the home straight. Then we want to sort of make sure the edges are nice and true, and sand. We could do a lot of sanding once it's finished and in situ. But
Yeah.
I mean, I selected these ones. I mean, they're all pretty good, but these ones are really good. Yeah, I like that with a block. You can't really go wrong, can you?
No.
Quite a painless job, really, wasn't it, putting all those together?
Well, like you said, when you set up, you're there, you're ready, aren't you?
Yeah. And that's it. So they're all made and complete, and they're ready to be fitted now. So we've got the C sections, the end caps, and these are what we call the I-beams. And the idea behind this was the fact that when they're stood up in position, they would just be carry on round, and both sides you get the slatted effect. And as you saw through them, the actual I-beam was sort of like secondary, if you like. It was hidden and out of the way. We've got the plate here. Now this is the first time I've taken these two bits of 18mm head and sole plate apart. So if you remember, I cut them out with the jigsaw, cleaned them up with the spoke shave, and then I marked them both. But the marks are not where I need them to be. I need them to be on the bottom and on the top. So now all I'll do is I'll switch them round, and when we actually put it back together, we'll be like that. So we've got the marks where we need to be. So I marked them on the outside while they were still together with the rod in position. Now I'm just going to simply do that with them, and I've got the marks exactly where I need them for when we screw them together. So that's Eddie and my next job now. Eddie will be at one end, I'll be at the other end. We'll keep the material sort of in line and square, and we'll take one of our I-beams, put it in, screw it through from the back, straight the way through. And this ply, the StreTek, will take a screw straight in the end. It's 25mm thick, and it's really, really tight. There's lots of plies. It's not going to delaminate or push apart. On the end of the screens, we've got the C section, and we're leaving this one out because we want to put a fixing in the floor, and we'll hide it there, okay? That's where we're going to hide that fixing, and it'll be that one there which we do first.
Third one in.
Yeah. And well, I think we'll just keep it tight to the face, yeah? Let's just go for fixing one end first. Shall we try putting a couple more in?
Yeah, this might be a bit weighty.
It needs to have a bit of weight to it.
Yeah.
Get mine slotted up, you can slot yours in. Yeah, you need to come really wide, there we go. That's it. And now they've got a little bit of tautness to them, they'll hold themselves virtually, won't they? Cool. It's effective.
Yeah, looks great.
There we go. That's lovely. That's what we want.
We just repeated the process. We slotted them all in, screwed them all up, and it was a really nice, quick job.
They're all in place now, and we are just missing the second to last one and the end cap and the others that diminish into the wall. We've got a 6mm packer which goes under, which matches the margin on everything else. So
Yeah,
we've left, on the floor we left a 6mm gap over here. So we're just going to translate that into the curve as well, so everything's the same.
Like a shadow gap.
Yeah, it looks really nice actually. So yeah, we'll just add that on, pin and glue that on there.
Curve is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? It's just a really gentle, nice curve.
Yeah.
Let me hold one end. I'll hold this so you can...
Which end do you go on?
We'll give it a little rub first, all right?
Yep.
Whack it against, give it a little...
Yep.
That's it. I'm good. That's good. Then you've got the top, so if you just head back that way, let's pick it up. Oh, it's good weight, isn't it?
It's pretty lumpy.
Yeah. Oh yes. That's about it, all right? But it does look good. And look at the light coming through it.
Nice dappled light.
That works well. That works beautifully, doesn't it?
Nice.
Doesn't it look good?
Yeah. That height's perfect as well, Robbie.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah.
Now we're just going to do the blend, aren't we, between this and then carry the slats into that slat there. So that's how we're going to blend it round now. And then we've got to put the ends on. But what we have got to do is fix it to the floor. Now we've got underfloor heating, but this bit of Correx that you see, which has got these cutouts, we use this when we set the underfloor heating out. So I made this way back in the day before we had, you know, all of the skirtings or anything like that, and we knew exactly where we needed to be. So I know that I can confidently fix through the floor into the screed.
Confidently.
And miss the underfloor heating pipe. So I'll try to put a picture over of what that configuration looked like. So we'll probably fix this one here, right through this little hole here. We'll put a fixing down through here, through the floor, into the screed. And then we'll slide the next section over it, pin it on the front and the back, and then we put the cap on. So that's how the end cap goes on, and then that gives you the end solid. Yeah, that looks great, Ed. So the first one is mocked up, just standing in place, and Ed's just put the next one together. I love the way that they do slide in, and I'm glad we made them up as the eye section instead of making them and then trying to go over the top.
Because I was worried about the, obviously something straight fitting to a curve, but with the gaps and the undersized sole plate makes it perfect. It was fine.
Yeah, so we made the head and sole plate. As I say, I did them with the jigsaw, if anyone doesn't understand what the jig is. Did it with a jigsaw, then with a spoke shave. So I could have had these done on a CNC, but I think it's useful, especially here on YouTube on my channel, that we sort of demonstrate that all this stuff can be made on site. I thought it was important that I actually did the radiuses on site with a trammel. And if you haven't seen that, check a bit early on in one of the videos and you'll see that. But anyway, so Ed's made that one. I've been outside ripping down the blend of 3 components, and they're sort of equally getting smaller by a certain amount. So they're what we call the blend, and that just follows the radius again. And they're quite simple and straightforward to do. Take an offcut, mark it to length, cut it, try it, and then once that's right and the saw's set up, rip them down. I'm going to be fixing them back to the wall, but to do that we'll take the screen out because we can actually fix the 2 bigger ones into the screen top and bottom. So we'll probably put that back on there. Do you want to get yours out of the way, Ed?
Yeah.
Is this one ready to stand up?
This is ready to go. So I've got the bottom.
Okay, mate. God, they are a lump, aren't they? So I need to spin right round here.
Yeah.
That's it, we're clear. All right.
Yep.
Pull yours round into the radius a tiny bit more. I'm going to get round there and dock that into that architrave there. That's it.
So that's staying happy?
Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
That's perfected.
That's our first time seeing them both together, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Really nice. Beautiful.
It probably weighs 60 kilos.
Well, if you think about it, the 25mm, all those rips on this nearly add up to 860mm, so
Yeah,
that's
it's
part
best.
of the sheet.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's perfect. So this one's actually ready to be fixed back in. I'll get it as close to the radius spot as possible. Ed.
That stood up. Right, that's it. Cock on now. Right, okay, so I'm going to fix that there and here. And what we're going to do is make sure it's parallel to those points off of this. We know it's all true then.
Yeah.
Because plumbing up something like this, you could put a level on here or here and it's irrelevant. You need it, we need it to be going there. That's the only corner that can actually be plumbed up plumb. Yeah. Because this is following geometrically everything else. These will get fixed back through there, and that will also anchor everything, won't it?
It's gonna be solid, isn't it? There's no.
It's going to be solid because of the weight and as I say, that fixing in the floor. So I'll get them screwed up. The first fixing will be one into here, through the plywood, through the plasterboard, and then there is obviously a sole plate for the stud wall beyond there. So I'm just going to put a countersink in first and increase the size of the pilot hole because I don't want the screw to bite into the ply. I want it to pull. So I'm just going to put a screw through somewhere on this plate here, slight angle downwards. Decent countersink, it's behind a slat. I'll increase that pilot bit so the screw doesn't bite into the sole plate and doesn't push it apart because it's only thin there, look. Take that through the ply. Now it's in the plasterboard, and that's the sole plate. So we don't need a hugely long screw there. I've got an 80mm by 5. I've countersunk that enough to take that, and that's the way you can check it. Turn your screw around, and if it fits below the surface, you know you're deep enough. And then we'll just wind that in there nice and gently and slowly. I'm going into the sole plate now, where the stud works. And that's it, that's pulled us up lovely. Same again, little pilot first. Now this is how I know where we're going to be in the right place, because I'm going to take a measurement from the door rebate slat to that point, okay, so to that little mark there where I fixed that one to. So I'm just going to pop a measurement here, and I've got 323, so 323mm. Transfer that to the top. And we want 323. Now in construction, if you spend a lot of care and time plumbing everything up, leveling everything, paralleling everything, if you make a partition, make it up on the ground, parallel, square it up, stand it up. When you level the head, because you squared it up, the uprights are plumb. The same rule applies here. We made these as square as we could, as parallel as we could, cutting all the slats and fins all to a block, so there was no marking, measuring, margin for error. So when we've stood this up and pushed it straight back, we are there. We're not forcing it backwards and forwards. Sometimes you feel you have to do that. That might be because this wall is laying out of plumb. So then to try and pull something which is square to out of plumb is going to give me problems. So I'm going to now drill this and get back into that head. I need to give it a bit of angle downwards to get me back into the 100 by 50 head, which is here. So if I get that angle about right, I want to be coming at the top, going through to the bottom. So about here to start, behind the slat. There we have it. Pilot hole. I think there's a screw behind there or something. It's probably a drywall screw. Yes, I think must have caught a drywall screw. You can see the metal filings on the end of there. But I know a drywall screw is quite soft, so this is a HSS bit which will drill metal, so I'm going to go through the pipe, I'm going to go through the head of that drywall screw that's hiding there. There we go. Now I'm into that head. So
plan that if you try it.
I know, these things happen though, don't they? I think it's when you screw something and then you come and screw something over the top, it's kind of like you have a seventh sense as a tradesman. I bet there's other tradesmen watching this who will say, I'm always hitting a screw behind a screw. You know, you put something on a wall, you screw the next layer over, you're double boarding, it always happens. It's like your mind says this is where we hit the screw. But now I want to try and catch something wooden. There we go, look down. That is a dream. So now what we've got to do is fix these fins back. Again, super simple now. Same difference, countersink, counter bore, something a bit bigger than the screw, and we want to get those dead straight. So if I slip my level into there, by the time I push that dead straight, you can see that we're back contacting against the wall, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to put a little pencil mark in here so I can see them. And that's what I'll do. See how much it moves when I take it away. It's just because it's got some spring in it where it's been cut. So drill that up. I'll start with the middle. We're going through into timber again. Again, slightly bigger drill bit than the screw. So using a number 4 screw, use a number 5 drill bit. See if it's blunt after going through all that metal work. This time I want to penetrate the ply. Longer screw this time. I think I need a 100mm screw there, because by the time we get through that, through the ply, through the plasterboard, we've only got about 20mm. Even at 100mm, probably catching the stud behind. We'll give that a go. I've actually got some 120 screws as well. We're biting now. That's good. Back on the line, nice and straight. Couldn't be any easier really, but it's all thought through. You know, everything here has got to be restrained, fixed back. There's my pencil line there. Through the ply and the bottom. That's it. Screw it up. Satisfying job, and then we're going to get this one straight as well and screw that one. A little bit more tricky because it's a bit longer, the screw. But that's a good connection there. Really nice connection, because that's actually giving us a lot of support. So the same applies here now. I'm going to get that nice and true. Try the level over it, just to see where it is running. And the funny thing is, we've not done any leveling on this job yet. Yeah, if you look at the bubble in the vial, we're dead plumb. So back to what I was saying a moment ago about building square, building parallel, making sure you set your fundamental levels of your walls, your floors, your ceilings. Get your datums absolutely spot on. Spend a bit of time when you're putting stud work to check it and double check it. When you're fixing your plasterboard, use a level, plumb those up as well. And the corners, don't get your corners out. It pays dividends. You know, we're making something. We're not joinery conditions, site conditions. Making something, putting it together, and it's all following the last bit of work, which was nice and true. And I think so many things in construction go wrong, where someone maybe doesn't put the foundation in dead level. The bricklayer's got to come on. He's going to struggle. He's going to try and get it back to where it should be. Then the window fitter comes along and he says, well, this sill's slightly out, where the bricklayers had to try and pull a pig out of a wall, and so on and so forth. And I just think that it's really important. I think it comes with experience, and it's a satisfying feeling when you put something together. It maybe make a little frame, fit it into a hole, and it fits. And you're like, yeah, my hole was square in the first place. So that's it. I'll get that fixed now. Move on, do exactly the same on the other side. Fix the bottom corner. And then the screens are somewhere near ready then for us to blend from here round to here. So we've done the rips and started bringing the slats round from the rear screen to the flat wall. So where the join is on this particular one, because the radius was struck from the same radius, if you like, parallel to this, and this one was struck from the wall, so it's more of a natural blend from flat to curved, whereas this one, because the wall's at 90 degrees, it was always going to be slightly different, otherwise the radiuses wouldn't have been actually in line or parallel. So where Ed's joining to the straight, to the curve there, instead of putting this one on flat and having some sort of dysfunctional joint, what have you done, Ed?
I've just put some screws in and I've left the head protruding slightly just to give it that kick.
So you're using screws. Show us where those screws are.
The head's slightly protruding on them.
And you're using those as actual packers, effectively.
Yes, yeah.
And then you can turn those in and out and that will support your strut to where it needs to be. And of course you never see them because it's behind, so just lay that over. And it then gets the radius or the curvature much, much smoother. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think the key then is to make sure you fix near them so we don't bend them flat in between. But yeah, that's a good tip, that. So you'll finish this bit off here.
Yep.
I'm just doing this bit over here, so I'll fix the bottom of this one here and got the top fixed as well. And now I'm just going to pull these slats through here. Then we're going to fix into the floor, both sides, get the end caps on, stand back and admire it. Once we'd stood the screens in, we'd fixed them back to the walls, they were all straight and parallel. Then it was a simple matter of just taking the loose slats that we'd prepared and forming what I called the blends, so to make sure that the radius is joined to the straights as smoothly as possible. So Ed just got hold of the straight ones while I adjusted a socket position to make sure that I had a slat either side exactly, and I could form a nice detail around that as well. So basically meant notching out a couple of the slats either side of the socket equally so that the actual socket was in the middle. And then it was just a matter of filling them in and forming a frame, so a small section at the top of the socket and the bottom of the socket, and fitting them back, and then it was all done.
So we filled in all the last bits, Rob, and now is the nerve-wracking part, isn't it?
Yeah, we are. I mean, they don't need a lot of attaching, these screens, because of the weight of them, but we are going to put a fixing into the ground. We're pretty confident. I've checked the photos, the videos of the underfloor heating system, and as I mentioned before, I used this Corex at the time we set out the underfloor heating, and so we went past and we went round, but you know, who knows, you know, you just forget.
Don't think about it.
It doesn't warrant thinking about. So we know that the screed is 50 millimeters and the pipes at the bottom of the screed are about 16. So we know we've got around about 30 millimeters of screed above. So let's stay just within that 30 mil. The screed isn't like a sand and cement screed. It's a liquid screed. It has a really high strength, okay? So we don't need to be going all the way through it. 30 millimeters. We're going to put a concrete screw in which we've cut down. So we know that all we've got going in is about 30 millimeters there. We've blunted the end as well. And what we're going to do is masonry bit to that spot, which is effectively where we need to be. We're going in between the last of the I-beam sections there. We'll start by just counter boring that head underneath a little bit, right in the middle here. We don't want to go too much because we don't want to go too deep. Then we'll put a pilot bit through into the floor. As soon as I start seeing the floor material come through, there we go, that's the floor material there. I'm going to get a vacuum on. And then I'm not going to use any hammer, I'm going to use a 6mm bit. We're just going to try and, let's turn that back on as well. This screed is super hard. That's a good benefit of this particular screed. That's why it can go thinner. So you can watch back through the videos at the liquid screed. I'm literally not using hammer. I want to get back down to the green there because I know that's exactly where my fixing wants to be. So just give that a go a bit more. And that's about it. So I'll vac that off. Can't see any water yet.
It's all dry dust, which is a good sign.
Yeah, and then I'm just going to let that drive that through there. Now, once that's in, that's going to act like a pin. The amount of strength between that, it doesn't need to pull it down, it just needs to act like a pin. When it gets to about here, it's hitting the floor now. Now we're in the screed, and it feels pretty good. Just going to go gentle, really gently. And that's the beauty of controlling the drill. Now it's getting pretty tight, and I can actually feel it pulling downwards. Okay, so it's pretty good there. I mean,
It's a bit nerve-wracking, that.
But that was a fairly successful fixing.
I'll give it a tiny, tiny bit more. That's it.
Happy days. So we'll repeat that, and then we'll put these last few bits in, and the screen, apart from a little bit of looking over, sanding here and there, there might be a mark or whatever. It's done.
Feels better that time. Yeah, that feels good. And that's it. Perfect.
Give that a vac off and get these last bits in. So I'm going to slot that over there, cover the fixing up, slide it on the top to where it needs to be. And that's on the marks again. It's pretty good.
Yep.
Both sides. At the top.
And here. Now we can put the end cap on.
And the end cap is the C section,
which is here.
I'll just turn that over. So it's a full stop effectively.
And that will be the same thing. We need to keep it shimmed up off the ground because our plate
For the shadow gap, so we put the 6mm here.
And we let that slot over the end. There. And that looks pretty good. And what I'm going to use is slightly bigger gauge, 18 gauge on this one. So this pin head is slightly bigger, straight through the 25 into the 18. A little bit of a dovetail. Same at the bottom. Take out that bit of 6mm packer, the shadow gap. That is that one done. Let's repeat the process on the back. Fix the bottom. Fix the top. The I-beam is done. Let's get the C section on.
Shadow gap.
Then we're popping this one on. Slight little dovetail. Take out the 6. Let's get the bottom fixed. The last slat to go in, and what it is, it's a rip over the architrave here. So it's hard to see, but that's one of our ribs, if you like, the 25mm ribs cut onto the architrave, and it was actually fixed through into the architrave. And then this section goes against the wall with the bevel, because you see that from the other side if you look through the gap. Sits on the architrave, and then it pushes nice and hard back against there. So I'm going to glue that on, pin it on, and that is the relationship. And I'm super happy with that because it gives us this really nice, interesting, so 15mm gap, got about 15mm there as well, 15mm architrave. I just think that we're super lucky. When you set something out, rod or mark it a full-size diagram, you just know where you're going to finish. And pinning that in is literally the last job, and I'll do that right away. Put a bit of glue, we love a bit of glue. And then we can clear this place up, move all our tools out, take up the protection, and move on to the next job. Carefully put that in there, over, and then establish that there. There we go. And then that is the job. Well, it's finished. My slat wall's finished, and I must admit I'm super pleased with it. I thought about this for ages. It took me a while to choose the material. I ended up with the StreTek ply. It's been a really lovely material to work with. The finish is beautiful. It hasn't got anything on it yet. I am going to be putting a really sort of invisible sealer over it just to stop handprints or marks. That's the only thing I'm going to do. It's just going to be sort of cloth applied all the way over the top of it. And that's it. The secret door's over there. That's worked out really well. And we're going to have a nice piece of art or something on this wall. And that's it. So here's the screen. I'm going to run behind it. And when I'm behind it, I can see all the way through and just see the dappled light. So yes, I'm really happy with it. I've enjoyed making this. I've enjoyed thinking about it. As a carpenter and a joiner, making something is basically what it's all about. Being asked to do something, shown a picture, and then you think, right, how am I best going to do that? And I've really enjoyed it. You can see that the mirror is totally integrated into the StreTek, and we lapped the slats and we came down sort of so it looked like it's clasped as you looked in the mirror. There's a 6mm shadow gap all the way along the bottom, which is replicated around the screen, so they look a bit like they're floating as well. Thanks so much for watching. If you didn't watch any of the other ones of this, there's about 3 more in front of this where we started the wall and built the wall and everything else, made the stuff, made the curved wall plates, and of course this video where we put it together and finished it off. Thanks for watching. Catch you all again soon.